You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Joining us now through Hellfire and Brimstone, it's the Big Red Machine from the WWE, Kane. Kane, it's a pleasure to have you on the line, buddy.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Hey, we're pleased to have you. We hear you have a book coming out, or that it's just been released, I should say. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It's an unauthorized, I suppose, rehashing of Kane's career, if you will. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually, the concept. It's not only of Kane's career, but it's also about early history of Kane, from his childhood to his time in the WWE. So it's a pretty interesting concept.
It's a little bit different than what we would expect from a WWE book, because a lot of them seem to be more, shall I say, realistic. So this one's more like character-based. So do you think that something like this could perhaps leak its way onto WWE programming?
Yeah, it could be. You know, I don't know. I think this is more of an extension of WWE programming than anything. You know, it gives a different side of the characters than you're going to see on TV.
Well, let me take you back to the beginning of your career, as a matter of fact, in reality, as opposed to just the generic, the book, or as I should say. We actually had the opportunity to, just 2 weeks ago, speak to your former manager, Paul Bearer. And he spoke about how when he first saw you in Smoky Mountain, when they went down there scouting, they were blown away by you. Do you remember when they first came down, he and the Undertaker, and saw you?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Jim Ross was, when I was working for Smoky Mountain, Jim Ross was our color commentator. And, you know, he helped set some things up for me with the WWE, and everything turned out good from there.
It certainly did. You've had a lot of gimmicks, my personal favorite being Isaac Yankem. But what do you think led to the success of the Kane gimmick?
I think the mystery of the character initially, you know, the fact that it was behind the mask, so you couldn't tell what Kane was thinking and what his motivation was for a lot of things. You know, and whereas with the other superstars, you pretty much know why they're doing what they're doing because, you know, you can see it. But with Kane, you know, you're always left with that, he never told you why he did what he did. He just did it. So, you know, there could be a multitude of, you know, motivations behind it, that it almost allowed the audience to be interactive just in that respect, because you could sort of decide why he was doing what he was doing.
Definitely. Were you a fan of the idea of the unmasking angle with Kane? Did you feel like it was time, or would you have rather seen him keep that mask on?
No, I felt like it was time. You know, I felt like we'd gone as far as we could. You know, with the character under the mask, and you know, I actually felt after a while that the mask was limiting my ability, you know, to do some things. You know, for years I'd had to, you know, when I was talking about portraying emotion, I'd have to do it, you know, solely with my body, you know, and I never could do it with my face like the other superstars were able to. So that added another dimension to the character. There were a lot of people that weren't fans of it, but the people that were the ones that counted. So.
Well, just 2 nights ago we mentioned that we were going to have you on the program, and the phone started ringing off the hook. They all wanted us to ask this question, and it might be the stupidest question I've ever heard, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. Did you actually have long hair under the mask, or was that always part of the mask?
No, I had long hair for a while.
I thought that was a stupid question, but I guess I thought I would, a little bit funny, a little bit different, so I gave that a shot.
That was the coup, man. No one knew anything about that, actually. Even, you know, even like nobody. So that really was one of the best kept secrets in our industry.
Indeed, it was. Just to move along for time's sake, you've worked a few matches with some big name people over your career. I think of guys like, I believe you worked with Bret Hart when you were Isaac Yankem. You recently worked with Shane McMahon. You've had matches with Kurt Angle. Who was your favorite to work with over your career?
There's a couple. Undertaker was always one of my favorites, you know, just because I have a lot of respect for him, you know, and everything that he's done and all things that he's done to help me, you know. Chris Benoit's been one of my favorites too, you know, just because he's just a great guy to work with. And of course, you know, guys like Austin and The Rock, you know, because pretty much no matter what you did out there with those guys, you were going to get a reaction from the people.
Oh, definitely.
No, those guys are just so over that you just look at them wrong and the crowd is going to react badly to you.
Right. So it always made it easier on you too, you know.
Well, just recently you got arrested on camera for tombstoning Lita. We haven't seen you on WWE programming since. When might we see the return of the Big Red Machine?
It could be any time soon. It could be a while off. You know, you just have to watch and see.
Hey, fair question. We got just a few more questions with you, and then we're going to let you get back to doing your signing. One of the questions that I had for you was, how do you feel as you were able to get such longevity within the business? We talked to a lot of people who, you know, have had a good couple, 2-3 year strong runs. You've been going strong now for many years, through many different, you know, cycles of both, you know, the WWE business, the television business. How do you personally feel that you've remained, you know, on top for so long?
Well, I've been fortunate because I've been relatively injury-free. You know, I've only had a couple of major injuries, and you know, that's been by good fortune. You know, I keep myself in very good shape, of course, but you know, a lot of it's been good fortune. Also, you know, I'm a professional. You know, I do what it takes to get done, and you know, people I work with know that. So, you know, they can depend on me to come through. You know, because that's what I do, and that's what I've always done. So I think those two things are the most important things in my career.
Another question I have for you is, throughout your career, you've had a lot of, you know, spots, I'd say, that were a little over the top. We've seen you throw Shane McMahon through a burning dumpster. We've seen Paul Bearer bury in cement. We've seen you set Jim Ross on fire. Out of all those big-time spots that had a lot of kind of production and planning behind them, what one sticks out in your mind as your all-time favorite?
My all-time favorite, I think it's the one where I set the guy on fire, his whole body, and that was in Tucson, Arizona, actually, pretty close to you guys.
Oh, yeah, not too far away.
Yeah.
Is that the one where you shot the lightning bolt from your finger?
Yeah, the one where I was shooting lightning bolts. And
that was pretty funny. I was watching that at home, and I remember I started laughing, like, how'd they do that?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. You know, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I'd have to say that was it. Ironically enough, the flying through the dumpster with Shane McMahon, I believe that was also in Tucson. So, Tucson.
A lot of history with a lot of history with Kane here in Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, and then you know, along a different line, but you know, I took care of the gorilla there in Phoenix one time.
Yeah, I recall that, the Phoenix Suns gorilla, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, you did actually get a chance.
And that was fun, let me tell you.
Well, this is probably a question you get asked all the time, but what was it like getting to tombstone Pete Rose in Boston when he's ripping on those fans? That's got to be one of the highlights of your career and life. I mean, that's got to be fun.
Yeah, that was huge, man. That was huge. Only to be capped off by getting to induct him into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That had to be kind of having it come full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kane, we appreciate your time. Why don't you once again tell us a little bit about the book?
Journey into Darkness.
Right, Journey into Darkness, the unauthorized story of Kane.
Well, like I said before, you know, this delves into the side of Kane that you don't see on TV, and you know, we touched a little upon before about the motivations behind what Kane does, and this book probably answers a lot of those questions.
Yeah, it's kind of like the prequel to the Kane character, then, essentially,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, just before we let you off the phone, and I know that you've read the book, you're part of the book, and let me just ask you this, does any point in the book, does the name Katie Vick show up?
Yeah, it shows up a couple times.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Does that name give you a headache or nightmares or anything like that?
No, I sleep well at night.
All right. You just give everybody else nightmares, right?
Exactly.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to reading the book. We're going to hit the bookstores soon. We hope everybody else out there does the same. Thank you so much for your time, and everybody, stay tuned for more from the Wrestling Epicenter.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
And it starts right now.
Live from the Valley of the Sun, it's the Wrestling Epicenter right here on KASC, The Blaze, 1260 AM. It's James Walsh, joined as always by my boy, Chuck D. Chuck, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Wanted to talk a little bit of wrestling here this evening.
Oh, yes, we are. And we're also going to be joined by none other than the Big Red Machine, all the way through, you say it.
Hellfire and Brimstone?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't remember it. The one and only Kane is going to be with us later on in the program. Who else gets a big guest like this, Chuck D? Who else?
No one that I'm aware of. We also have Francine calling in here momentarily. We're going to talk to her. She did some hardcore homecoming pay-per-views this past weekend. A lot of big stuff going on, man, in the wrestling community this past week. Glad to have this show going this week, man. We got a lot to talk about. I guess we're probably going to wait for Francine to call here momentarily, as we haven't got her on the line quite yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move right into WWE's Raw. We're going to talk about it as far as we possibly can till Francine calls in. We'll get her on the line, talk a little bit about what's going on in her life, and then we'll get back to the Raw. Raw started out last night with a good match, a good segment as always. It was Mr. Wrestling, Kurt Angle taking on Eugene.
Pretty sure Mr. Wrestling is copyrighted by another wrestler, but anyway, it was a really good match. Eugene, again, did not get exactly a 100% pop or face reaction. I was a little bit disappointed in Eugene's reaction. I think this could be the last time we see Eugene for quite some time.
That's right, dude, and I'm psyched to say it. Eugene is officially going to be out of action. I don't think we're ever going to see this character again. I think it's well overdue. Bottom line is this. Eugene had an opportunity. He was put in there with big names. He'd been in the ring with Hulk Hogan, Kurt Angle, various others. He still was not able to keep himself over with his current gimmick. That's right. Can it? It's done. See you later, buddy.
I'm not a fan of canning the gimmick. I really like the gimmick. I think it can have legs, but I think the bottom line is people don't seem to be reacting well to it, and the bottom line is if people don't react to it, regardless of what I like or what I don't like, it's not what I like, it's the consumer.
Well, and that's right. I think, as I've said, he's given plenty of opportunities, in the last year since he's been on television to get himself over. He has some big pay-per-view matches. His character has been given ample time. He even had a hot female with Christy Hemme accompanying him to the ring, and he still was unable to keep any kind of momentum going. I knew when I first saw this character, I said it then, I'm going to say it now, it had a short shelf life. That shelf life ended up being far shorter than I think anyone anticipated.
I don't know. We'll see what happens with it down the line, and I would not be surprised if we see it come back. The bottom line is everybody's saying, just let Nick Dinsmore come out and wrestle. Well, the bottom line is we already have guys that can come out and wrestle. We need more characters in wrestling, and the bottom line is if Nick Dinsmore comes out looking the way he looked in OVW, it's going to be the reappearance of Dean Malenko's baby.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'd rather see Dean Malenko wrestle any day than I'd rather see Eugene, is the bottom line there.
I gotta disagree with you there, dude. I really am looking forward to seeing the return of Eugene down the line. Dean Malenko's a fantastic performer, a great cruiserweight, but he's not in any way charismatic. He's actually charismatically deficient. Charismatically deficient, I said Dean Malenko is, Chuck D.
That's fine that he's charismatically deficient. Bottom line is this. When I tune into WWE's Monday Night Raw, I'm tuning in to watch some wrestling. I'm not there to watch some cartoon characters pretend like they know how to wrestle. The bottom line is this. Nick Dinsmore has the ability to wrestle. Therefore, that's all the gimmick he needs for actually people to tune in. You think Chris Benoit has Mr. Charisma written on his forehead? Not everyone's a Christian, not everyone's a Rock, not everyone's a Stone Cold. But bottom line is this. You get those good quality workers in there, people like Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Bret Hart. I mean, with the exception of Angle, none of those guys really have that, it factor that really gives them that charisma they need that can carry them They all just have strictly talent. And that's all I need to get over. Nick Dinsmore has that kind of talent. So screw the Eugene character, get rid of it, bring him back, even put him in a tag team with someone else.
If you strip characters from wrestling, what you get is Ring of Honor. And Ring of Honor is as boring as watching paint dry, brother.
You really believe Ring of Honor is as boring as watching paint dry?
It's like watching flies do the F word.
What? I don't understand what that means.
It's just boring, dude.
Well, I gotta be honest with you here when I say this. I think there's actually a place in wrestling for people that are just workers and not characters. And I think that people such as yourself that really just want, phenomenal gimmicks that can entertain them.
I didn't say I just want that.
When you do see a phenomenal gimmick, you still seem to be unsatisfied with it. I think that's the problem that the WWE has run into. John Cena is a good character. People don't like it. I'm trying to think of others that there's been recently. Of people who have good characters. I mean, right now, you have Lance Murdoch and Garrison Cade come out, right? They get a minimal reaction. Is it because they're new, or is it because a gimmick that's already been used a few times?
Murdoch.
Trevor Murdoch. My apologies.
And Lance Cade.
Yeah. Never. Well, no, he's Garrison Cade, dude.
No, he's Lance Cade.
And his name is not Lance.
His name is Lance Cade.
Ooh, you're wrong, brother. Let's make a bet on this one.
Okay, let's make a bet.
What are we going to bet for?
Taco Bell dinner. If I win, you have to eat Taco Bell.
I'm not going to eat Taco Bell, dude. I don't eat red meat. What am I going to do with Taco Bell?
Oh, come on. Stop being a hippie.
Stop being a hippie, dude. Bottom line is this. You got to be healthy. There's nothing good that can come out of Taco Bell, dude. Absolutely nothing.
How about the little Taco Bell dog? He was pretty good.
Yeah. Right on, dude. Anyway, Francine, are you with us on the phone now?
I'm listening to you, too.
You
What
hear
is
this,
going
kid?
on?
Unreal.
I hear both of you. You're bickering like married people. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what, it's already been a long week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I'm
Unbelievable.
exhausted.
See, you got to bring in some energy to us, Francine, because we're
Okay.
tired over here.
Okay.
So you got to
I'm
get us all
ready to
hyped
go.
up and ready to. Good. I'm glad someone is, because we're over
I'm
here
ready to
just
go.
sleeping. It's hot.
Yeah, and it's only 8:30 where you are. It's 11:30 here, so you got to wake up.
Well, if it were 11:30 here, I'd probably be a lot more wired. I'm kind of a night hawk. This is kind of that
Right.
like dusk hour for myself, where it's kind of
Okay.
not really daytime, not really evening, just kind of passing through. Why don't you tell us a
I
little about what you got to do this weekend? You did some pay-per-view work this weekend, right? Or some hardcore homing work, if I'm not mistaken?
Homecoming.
No, that's coming up.
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah, we have a 3-day tour coming up next weekend.
Ah, that's next weekend.
Yeah, it's Cleveland, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Buffalo, New York. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you could go to hardcorehomecoming.com if you need more details on that. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. Haven't done a triple shot with the ECW boys in quite a while, so it's going to be adventurous, to say the least.
Who can we expect to see on that card with you guys?
I will be there along with Shane Douglas. I believe Just Incredible will be there. I believe New Jack will be there. I believe Sandman will be there. I believe 3D will be there.
Team 3D, yeah. Whatever.
Hey,
Is that their name?
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually have Devon Dudley coming on the show with us tomorrow that we're going to air next week. So that's
Very cool. He's such a sweetheart.
You know who else we got coming on the air, oddly enough, as we're talking about ECW? Next week, we're going to actually have an interview with JBL up as well. So
JBL, oh, okay.
It'll be
Are
interesting.
you going to bring up the incident?
I think we have to, don't we?
I don't think there's a way we can do the interview without them being our fans. I think they'd behead us if we didn't mention it in some vein.
I think he will be very PC.
Politically correct, uh-huh.
Yes,
Probably so.
That's what I think. JBL's an intelligent man. He's a smart guy. I just think he's just going to be PC about the whole situation. So, and it's over and done with. I mean,
It is over and done
two different
with.
sides to the story. I mean, like we said before, Meanie has his side. JBL has his side. Things were said in the ring. We weren't in the ring. You don't know what was said. So.
Once we have JBL on the air, I'd also like to extend the opportunity to Blue Meanie to come on, to tell his side of the story. I have no problem with that. But I have a gut feeling somewhere that tells me that JBL has probably had this question asked to him enough times. I think we could be the ones that make him snap, where he just goes off about it.
Well,
I think it's time.
That could be true, but we're also on different sides of this, Chuck. I actually side with JBL, and you side with the meanies, so it could be very
Wow.
interesting talking to him on the air about this.
Well,
You're always against each other, you two. I love it.
Well, you know, because it's just one of those situations where I think, you know, even if I had said some things in my past about somebody and I'm with them in a working environment, I wouldn't expect out of nowhere just to get cheap-shotted. You know, that kind of goes against the rules of, you know, what's supposed to be done, the kind of unwritten codes, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a wrestler. You know, I can
But then
say
again,
I think.
Chuck, let me interrupt you. You did hear, I believe it was Lance Storm in his interview that said that while they were in the ring, Meanie made some comments to him while they were in the ring. Am I wrong on that, or?
He did, and the bottom line is Lance Storm has also said he does not like JBL. He doesn't think what he did was awful.
Okay, well
he
then
said
he
it was
might be biased.
He said it
Like
wasn't.
I said before, look, you hear two sides to every story. I did hear Meanie provoked him in the ring.
Right.
I did hear JBL was a bully to Meanie. Who knows?
Right.
If you interview John, you're going to hear his side. When you interview Brian, you will hear his side. We will never know the truth.
Yeah.
Right. We'll probably just call it somewhere down the
It's
middle.
like beating a dead horse with a stick. You're not going to get anything out of it. So.
It is, but it's always an interesting topic since, you know, this past year has been so huge for, you know, kind of the rebirth of the ECW name.
Right.
People just want to know. People are so animated about hearing something different out there.
I still think JBL is going to be very politically correct, and he's going to just, you know, give you a short. This is my opinion. I think he's just going to give you a short statement and move on.
Yeah.
You
But
never know
you
with
can
him.
try.
Because
you can try.
he's such an interesting character. I mean, there's times where he does seem very PC, and then there's other times he'll just do something completely outlandish.
Well, you got to get him in the right mood. If you get him in a bad mood, he might go off on a tangent about anything. And that's why
wow.
I
So
have,
you're going to piss him off early, huh, James?
Well, James doesn't even have to try. It'll just happen.
I
James will
just
say,
have
"This
that.
is James."
I just have that way with people, I guess you could say.
There you go.
So, Francine, why don't you
Well-
also take a quick minute and tell us a little bit about your upcoming poker tournament? I believe that is on September 14th. You have another one coming up, correct?
Next Wednesday night.
Yes, it's next Wednesday night. It's a $10 buy-in. I'm very excited about it because the last two we had were just free rolls where anybody, you know, could do it for free. But now you literally have to put $10 up. So, you know, people are going to be playing tight, but there's going to be a lot of money at stake. So please go to foreverfrancine.com for more details on that, and I hope to see you at the table.
Now, what time does that actually take place at?
8 o'clock
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time, yes.
Oh, you know what? I can get into that then.
You can.
That's 5 o'clock my time. I'm good to go.
Can you play?
Well, I can make an attempt to play.
Okay. I hope you suck. Come on, give me your money.
I don't really think you have to hope too
I'll
hard.
take it. I don't care.
I think that's going to be pretty much a given. I'm more of the roulette kind of guy.
Okay. Well, then you should definitely try.
Yeah, right.
Hey, what's $10?
Everyone that sucks at poker should definitely check out foreverfrancine.com. It's a great place to go to play.
Hey, you know what? I also there's a chatting area, so you can also, you know, chat with me, and we talk about a lot of things as well. So it's just fun.
Yeah, you had
know,
mentioned
even
last.
if I lose, I go around to all the different tables and chat with everybody. So I don't, like, if I'm eliminated, I don't leave right away. I stay till the very end and cheer them on.
And right after you're done with that, you're going to be able to jump right in here on the show next week, right? And
that's
tell us how it
right.
turned
Or
out,
I
right?
might still be playing, so I might have double duty. But you know, we'll see. Hopefully, I won't be done yet.
We
but
might get live coverage then.
yeah, you never know.
Hey, we can do the
Don't
play-by-play.
worry, I won't stiff you guys though. I will call in.
Oh no, that we were hoping what we could do is actually we could have you tell us some cards and things like that. We could just kind of spoil it for everyone over the air. You know, tell everyone, "Oh, listen in," and we'll just call
like
people
tell
out.
you what I'm holding.
Yeah.
That probably
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
be
what
too
if-
smart, though, dude. What if somebody from the
what
game
if
is
somebody's
listening?
listening?
Well, I mean,
They'll
I guess
know what
that'd be
I'm
funny then,
holding.
right?
Would
No,
it be
but
funny?
then
She'd
I'll-
lose.
Well, you're still gonna get something out of the deal anyway, right? So it's all good.
No.
No, she's gonna
Oh,
lose.
well, never mind then, I guess.
That was
No,
a stupid idea, dude.
Oh well, what can you do?
And I pissed
No,
people
man,
off,
I'm
right?
in it to win it, baby.
Hey, there you
I'm
go,
not
right?
telling anybody what I'm holding. I never
Hey,
get
see,
my cards.
you take this poker stuff seriously, huh?
You know, I was talking to a friend last night, and we decided that maybe next year I'm going to start, hopefully, things can change, you know, but I want to go out to Vegas and try my luck in the lower tourneys, like the $1,000, $1,500 buy-in, see how well I can do with that, and, you know, hopefully I can do the World Series of poker. I'm not saying I'll win or anything, but just to play would be such an honor.
Well, let me ask you this. You said that you do these fan conventions, get to meet all these celebrities, and a lot of these celebrities are doing these celebrity poker tournaments. What about seeing you maybe show up on the Game Show Network playing one of those?
Oh, I don't. I think they would go for a WWE personality before they would go. Yeah.
Well, then they're just stupid.
Well, I can understand because I mean ECW has not been on TV in a really long time. But maybe in my heyday I could have did it. But right now it's like I'm going to try my luck somewhere in Vegas. We just don't know when. So.
Well, hey, that'll be awesome. I'll swing by there because I'm always down for a trip to Vegas.
Yeah, I mean I'll let everybody know what's coming up. But I'm looking forward to that for 2006. So that's
I don't know
my
if
goal.
I'll ever actually end up seeing you there because God knows where I'll be somewhere.
I don't go to strip clubs.
I don't really. Well, I'm not even gonna lie.
Right.
Yeah, I go to Vegas.
Okay.
I go to strip clubs. Such is life.
Of course you do.
You'll be walking through the casino somewhere yelling at Rico.
Yeah, I did see Regal last time I went to Vegas.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I was on the phone with him at the time, and I heard him say, "Hey!" And he was talking to Rico at the time. I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Francine, I gotta be honest with you. I had been up for like, I don't know, 28 hours. And I'm in Vegas. You know how that whole situation goes. I had some of my boys up from New York. One of whom had never been to Vegas before. So we're like, if we're gonna do it, we gotta do it right.
Sure.
So we happened to be at this club, and I walked out, and let's just say, I'd had a few drinks in me, and I happened to see Rico, and I was like, dude, Rico! Just totally kind of geeked out. I didn't know what was going on.
Sounded like Night at the Roxbury with Emilio Estevez.
I'll tell you what, I appreciate him, being polite enough not to kick my ass on the spot. Because I was kind of obnoxious with him for a second until I calmed down.
Did you talk to him for a little bit?
Yeah, I did. He was a good guy. He said he was back trying to get recertified, I believe, for the police academy.
Oh.
And so he was just, taking the time out, doing a little bouncing on the side, just hanging out, taking some time off, which is good. I think everyone needs to do that from time to time.
Sure.
Kind of recharge the battery, so it was good for him.
Cool.
But yeah, he was a complete cool guy. But
Right.
yeah, it was definitely a good time. We're going to move back into Raw now, though, if we can, Francine, if you're willing to stay with us.
Sure.
We already covered the first match, which was essentially the death of Eugene's character. We don't expect to see him on TV anymore.
That was so horrible. I am really upset about that.
Are you really?
Yeah, because I liked the Eugene character. I really did, and the way it turned out, I just feel bad for him. And if they don't repackage him, I don't see much of a future for him.
That's what I would keep saying.
In the company, not overall, because he could always work on the indie scene.
He's always going to be able to work on the indies because he's actually a good worker. I think the thing is, though, people keep saying that they should just bring him in as Nick Dinsmore, but in the WWE, you need a character. You need something that makes you different from the rest, and the bottom line is having a good worker there. Well, they already have Benoit, and they already have.
Why do you need? Now I'm going to argue with you. Why do you need a character?
That's what I said.
Because it's television.
No, because there's Chris Benoit, there's Shelton Benjamin, Lance Storm. None of them had any characters. If you have talent, you
one's
can get
unemployed,
over.
one's on Heat, and one's mid-carder now. I mean, unfortunately, that's just what happened to them.
But it's not because they're not a cartoon character.
That's what I said. I used to
Triple H doesn't. Triple H
no,
doesn't.
Triple
really...
H is different from the rest. You need something that makes you different from the rest. And I'm not trying to be offensive to Mr. Nick Dinsmore, but I've seen the guy work, and without the Eugene character, he doesn't really catch my attention. He just doesn't.
But you've never. Okay, what other aspects have you seen him as?
I've seen him on several tapes in the OVW.
Okay.
And he was just Nick Dinsmore there.
That was before Paul Heyman was writing, though.
Where he, like we've said this a million times, like you do what the boss tells you to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are certain ways to get yourself over, and we were talking about this last week and the week before. This guy might have charisma in him. He might not be letting it out of him.
Thank you, Francine.
Well, I mean, we'll know when we see it happen, but the bottom line is if it's just a good worker out there, the fans can't sink their teeth into it. I think that's the problem that Shelton Benjamin had. That's all he is. He's very athletic, great. But
okay. See, now, when we were in ECW and we had Malenko, Guerrero, the Classic.
Those guys are incredible. Yeah, those guys had great matches.
Well, and they didn't have gimmick. They came out in tights.
That's
what was
a fair
their
point.
Gimmick?
That's a fair point, but that's still, and I'm not trying to be offensive to ECW because I loved ECW, but that was, who's to say if that would have worked in WCW or the WWF at the time? I really couldn't say. I don't know if it would have. And the bottom line is, yes, wrestling fans love that, but the bottom line is, who's watching? Is it wrestling fans or is it casual fans? And that's really what people have to figure out.
Well, at this point, it's clearly wrestling fans. I mean, that's why the ratings are at the 4.0s. If it was the casual fan, we'd be back up at the 8s.
Well,
and there'd be 15 companies, running around right now. Bottom line is that's not happening. And I want to touch back on what Francine said, and this is something I try to echo every week. You look at John Cena, people say he doesn't sell. Well, he's not personally going out to the ring deciding to himself, I don't feel like selling tonight. There's someone that set that match up for him.
Right.
And there's someone that said, when you go out there, do not look weak.
Right.
So he goes out there and does not look weak.
It's like what Hogan
Then
said.
the next night on the internet, everyone's like, oh, John Cena can't sell to save his life. Who knows if he can sell or not? We haven't had the opportunity to see.
That's a fair point, and Hogan said it about Vern Gagne. Vern Gagne told him, don't take a knee, and now people say Hogan doesn't sell for people.
I mean, so you have all these things saying, well, you know, Nick Dinsmore might not have... Well, no one knows, because they told
I think
him...
it's just it's a matter of personal taste. I think James likes the big, flashy showman side of...
No, don't get me wrong. I appreciate good mat wrestling. The only thing is, I've seen Nick Dinsmore work, and I just got to be honest with you. By seeing him in there, if he's going to be up against the guys that they currently have working in the WWE, he's not going to capture the imagination of the casual fan.
I think if you're a fan of wrestling, I don't see why he couldn't.
I don't see why
If
either.
you appreciate good wrestling, and he's a good worker, I don't see why he couldn't.
I've always said this. I've said that there is a place for good technical wrestling in the actual wrestling business itself. But what people need to understand is it just takes a little bit more time. If someone doesn't have that flashy, over-the-top character, they'll still get over. You just got to give them their fair share of time. People like Chris Benoit took years and years and years to get over. But now that he's over, he's ridiculously over, and he's going to stay that way till he retires. You just got to give him a... And same thing with Lance Storm. He didn't start out with some flashy character and automatically have like a cult following.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once he had his good technical abilities to fall back on, he did that for a few years, and then boom, he has this built-in audience now that wherever he goes, you know, whether people say he's got charisma or not, they still love the guy, and you just got to allow him that time.
You're limited to what you can do there, and you can do as much as they let you do. So he might have so much inside of him that we're never going to be able to see because they're not letting him. We don't know that. So for you to say, oh, he's not going to be good as Nick Dinsmore, I don't agree with you, because he can come out as the most robust character ever, but it's up to them to let us see that side of him.
Indeed. We're going to take a quick break, Francine. We're going to come back, finish talking up about Raw with you on the phone, if that's cool with you.
Sure.
Right on. So for your boy Chuck D. Or for your boy James Walsh, excuse me. I don't even know my own name anymore. Anyway, you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on The Blaze, 1260 AM. Keep it locked right here. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Call the Blaze request line at 480-965-1260. Request your favorite song. 480-965-1260. The Blaze, 1260 AM. The Blaze, 1260 AM.
Yo, maniacs, this is Hulk Hogan, the greatest of all time, and you're listening to The Blaze, 1260 AM. So what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan in Blaze of Mania runs wild on you?
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here. I told you I was going to be a super short break here on the Wrestling Epicenter. We got a good show going on for you here this evening. We got Francine on the line. We also have Kane coming up a little bit later on in the show. Right now, we're deep in the midst of our Raw recap. Well, not that deep, as we're only going into our second match, which was Val Venus and Viscera taking on the Heartthrobs. And I'll tell you what, another great match. Every time I see Val Venus, I remember why I like the guy so much. Good look, great wrestling ability. Dude sells his ass off. There's really nothing this guy can't do. I wish they could just repackage him and get him over, is what I wish would happen, because he's such a great talent to watch. He understands what's going on out there. And I hope maybe this could be some kind of long-term tag team. I think it could have some good funny segments, seeing Val Venus and Viscera as kind of like these porn star-esque characters. And who better to feud within the Heartthrobs right out the chute? You know, it gives them some valuable experience and some great TV time.
Yeah, I think Val Venus has always been over. I think he's always gotten a good reaction from, you know, the live crowd. Every time I've watched him, he's got a wonderful reaction. I don't know why he's stuck at mid-card level. Again, it goes back to the people in the back, you know. And like you said, he's a really good worker. He has charisma, you know. Put that porn star character on the back burner. He still has charisma.
Sure he does.
You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't. I don't think he would need to be known as the porn star to get himself over there.
I'd agree with that. The only thing I didn't like about this match is that just about, a month ago, we saw Viscera take out the Heartthrobs on his own, and now he has a tag team partner, so it was clear to me who was going to win the match. Because
I agree with.
If he can win the match on his own, then now he has a tag partner. Why can't he?
Right.
You know, that's clear.
Well, that's too long. That shows that you have too good of a memory. That's not what we're supposed to recall.
Yeah, you're supposed to forget all that stuff.
Week to week, baby. Week to week.
Right. Yeah. Great.
But I do like the heartthrobs. I think they're hysterical.
They are funny, right? They're a little weird.
They are very funny. They're very entertaining.
Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah, that's what it's like all over again.
Yeah. It's a goofy character, you know, and I do enjoy when they come out. It makes me laugh every single time. It's the same thing every time, but it's funny.
I gotta kind of wonder though if they're gonna try and go down the Billy and Chuck route with this one.
I hope not. The gay gimmick.
Well, there seems to be the undertones there. If they never do anything with it, so be it. That's cool, right? But I have.
Yeah, but they're hitting on women as well, so.
If you want
maybe
to
they'll play for both teams.
Ooh, I don't think we've seen that before, have we?
You never know. There's an idea for you. Creative.
Francine and Be the Booker here on the Wrestling Epicenter. I'm just kidding. Up next, we saw Carlitos Cabana. We had the 2005 Diva Search winner, Ashley. She was there. She did all right, I thought, considering. I was a little concerned that she may not be able to carry herself on the mic with someone like Carlito and kind of keep up. I mean, don't get me wrong. This wasn't phenomenal by any means, but hey, she did well. She held her own. And I kind of like her, to be honest with you. I have no trouble with her being on TV a little bit more.
The best line was when he said you won the $250,000 check and you wear the same outfit every week. I loved it.
The funny thing about that is, don't all wrestlers to some degree?
I know, but it was he's just so funny to listen to. Like, that popped me huge. I just sat here and giggled to myself. But, yeah, I thought she did okay. I mean, they didn't give her a ton of things to mention, but she hit all her lines, and, you know, she did well. She's only been on TV for, you know, in that role for a couple weeks now. So that's really overwhelming. You're in front of 15,000 people, you know.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you got to give her a little credit for going out there and pulling it off, so.
And, of course, Ric Flair came in and made the save for her when he was about to spit the apple in her face, which I guess we discussed last week is his finishing maneuver. And the bottom line is, I don't know. I thought Flair holding his testicles for a little bit too long was quite uncomfortable to watch.
You felt his pain?
Not just that. It's just, you know, uncomfortable watching one man hold another man's testicles for that length of time.
Oh, well.
It just was like, he wouldn't let him go. We get
but
the
that
point.
was the drama. That's the drama there. You got to really crank on them to get, you know, the maximum. You know what I mean?
Leave it to James to bring this up, man. Right? I thought maybe we could just kind of skate by it, like, oh, that didn't really happen. But no, let's throw the brakes on this car and let's talk about it. Unreal, man. Why don't we talk next? We saw another segment.
I'm bombing tonight.
Nah, it's all right, dude. It happens from time to time. We saw another segment from Kane and Murdoch, which announced they were going to be wrestling a little bit later on, which I was relatively excited for. I'm always happy when I can see a tag team that is actually packaged and put together. We're going to talk about their match a little bit later on. Then we saw our next match, which was Matt Hardy versus Gene Snitsky. Obviously, Matt Hardy lost, but I'm okay with this loss because it kind of furthers the story.
Yeah, I was so afraid that they were going to end it abruptly, and the only thing, like, I didn't understand why, like, they didn't come out with, like, Matt didn't have a neck brace on or anything, right?
No, he did have a nasty, like, bruise, though, like, legit on his ribs, it appeared.
I would have made them, you know, come out with some, you know, tourniquet or a neck brace or something.
Yeah, like
because,
Johnny come marching home.
Well, you know what it was? It was such, like, you know, the bump last week in the electrical stuff with the explosion.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's only a week later, so let's really milk this and make it look like they really, really got hurt. So I would have definitely made them come out with some armor on. And
well, I mean, that's typical. I always think back to this when people try to mention this, that why don't they sell the injuries enough? Why don't we look at The Rock and Hogan when they had their build-up? The Rock was inside an ambulance. They got crushed by an 18-wheeler. He was out 2 weeks later, perfectly fine. I mean, that's just like par for the course.
This is just me trying to make sense out of something.
Well, it should make sense. And if you remember back to when Sandman did the blind gimmick, you know, he stayed out of action for a while. And if you ever did see him, he had the eye patches on and something in the cane. And that's where, you know, it made sense. Instead, now it's just they're back every week. Like Kane coming up later in the show. Kane and Shane McMahon went through the flaming dumpster. And next week, Kane came back.
Without a mark on him.
Yep. Yeah.
Again, it insults our intelligence. It's like we didn't forget what happened.
I've always had to think of the whole Kane character in that aspect, and since we have him on the show, I think we got to touch on it a little bit, is that this dude was built up for, I don't know, what, like 8 years? Is this horribly disfigured, scarred individual, right? And then just magically one day, you know, the dude realizes he can talk. And the next day he realizes he has no scars on him. Then like a week later, he's like a normal-looking dude, and then a week later he just shaves half his head, and that's the whole development.
I'd
of his
hardly
character.
say he's a normal-looking dude, though. He's still kind of a creepy-looking dude. No offense.
Well, I mean, if you
I don't think he's creepy.
He's not that bad.
No, I don't think he's creepy at all.
I think he's kind of sexy.
Kane?
See?
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think he's a bit. I think Kane's a nice-looking guy. I don't think there's anything creepy about him.
Well, Francine, now, I wouldn't go that far. I mean,
Well,
he's all right. I'm just
I mean,
saying.
okay, he's got, his hair's a little jacked up, but it's for the character. Otherwise, he doesn't have a bad face.
Chuck,
There's no
just,
reason to insult Kane like that.
Chuck just said that he thinks that Kane is sexy.
And I was joking.
Because we discussed this last week. Chuck is in touch with his feminine side.
That's right, man.
I think Chuck's
So
ready
he
to join
can
the
admit
Heartthrobs.
this without being, excuse me?
I think Chuck's ready to join the Heartthrobs as a
Which
bisexual.
there would be nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's like a Seinfeld episode.
There you go.
James
But
Walker.
getting back to our point, yeah, I would have liked to see Matt come out with something on him to show us that he was hurt from the week before.
Right.
When I got hurt in TNA, like they put me in a neck brace.
Mm-hmm.
When I did my indie shows, I wore the neck brace at every indie.
Well, I mean, that's what you're looking at is the death of like the supposed kayfabe era, if you will.
Right. Well,
I mean, there are situations, right, where I mean, people went on, back in the '80s for months and months and even years, selling certain things that were wrong with them.
Even recently, Diamond Dallas Page got beaten up by a crutch by Randy Savage in WCW, and for roughly a year after that, he wore tape on his ribs, and it added something to his match because in every match somebody would work over his ribs because they're taped up.
right.
So
Well, it does add, an aura of believability to some degree. I mean, you look at Cowboy Bob Orton. He started out with a cast, and he ended up using it and made a career out of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it all depends.
I think we're going even old school here on that one.
Yeah, I
we
guess.
definitely are.
I mean, just, from watching it last week and then watching it this week when he ran out, I was like, oh my God, there should be something wrong with him from that bump, but okay.
Well, I mean,
that's my only complaint.
Right. I mean, it was an okay match. Like I said, it served the purpose to tell a story. Edge being out there was fine. He sold his injuries, so that was good. But
right.
Continuing on the path that is Raw, we saw Tyson Tomko versus John Cena. This, of course, was set up by Tyson Tomko coming out on behalf of Eric Bischoff earlier in the show, giving John Cena the boot straight to the face. Cena got the win on this one, man, and there's no reason to expect anything else would happen in this match. I thought it was a good match, though. I'm always getting more and more impressed with Cena as every week goes by. It seems like he gets more and more comfortable in ring.
They should never touch John Cena's face. Never kick him in the face.
Oh, man.
He's too pretty.
Francine loves the whole WWE roster tonight.
Too pretty. And they got a bunch of good-looking guys,
Kane.
I'm a woman. I'm allowed to appreciate you. Kane is not a bad-looking man.
I'm not saying that he's...
sorry. He's not a bad-looking man.
I'm not saying he's bad-looking, but I just don't class... I mean, if I were to look at him objectively, I'm not going to say that he's in the same, league as, John Cena.
Did I ever say that?
Can we actually we have someone here who can put us a good perspective here.
We got the gay man on campus, actually, who just walked in.
Sweetheart,
Oh,
I don't know
alright.
you, so I don't want to disrespect you, but Kane is... See, I can't cuss right now, so I have to be very
Sweetie, you
careful
can
what I say.
disrespect
Kane
me
is
all
like...
you want. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not Kane.
She said,
Just say what you want to say, Teal.
I can't take you. I could shave my dog's ass and make him walk backwards, and he'd still look better than Kane. Kane is fucking...
Wow.
He's so gross. I'm sorry.
Really?
Cena, I will agree with you. Cena, if I had a vagina, I would be moist. Cena
Okay.
is hot. He's savage. Batista, same thing.
You are
Randy
adorable.
Orton,
Okay.
oh, Randy Orton is just yummy. But Kane, no. I see that man and I turn the channel.
See, I don't think he's ugly by any means. Ugly is a strong, strong word.
Wow, this is completely broken down, this show.
Oh my God, that guy's hysterical. You need to make him do a segment when I'm on here every week.
Are you kidding me? Teal
hysterical.
Norman, the gay man on campus.
She likes him.
Tell him I want to take him shopping.
Oh, hey, Teal, Francine wants to take you shopping, buddy.
Victoria's, I'm not going to try anything on, but I love dressing girls up.
He says he can go to Victoria's Secret, and he's not going to try anything on, but he loves dressing girls up.
He can try them on me, because gay guys can see me naked. I don't care.
She said that's great. Gay guys can see her naked.
Okay, I do it all the time, actually, with a lot
All
of
right.
girls.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Hey, now.
Next time I'm in Arizona, we're going on a date. A shopping date.
Hey, Teal's a trip, man. I'll tell you what. I've gone out with him a few times in a large group of people. We've had a few beers, and he's something else, man. He's got a
There
few.
you go.
He's got a few shows on here where, let's just say, he has a hard time staying on the air. Sometimes
He's
people
funny.
get a little
Okay.
touchy.
I'm sorry.
man.
I'm going off topic.
Hey,
Sorry.
it happens from time to time.
I think we should take a break. We need to take another break or not?
No, we're good, man.
We're good?
We're trucking right along. I want to get your take on this one, particularly, Francine. Was the Ashley and Tori Wilson match? Then I want to get James Walsh's opinion on this.
We're going to go head-to-head on this one again, Francine.
I felt bad for the girls. It was not good.
Well, good. Maybe we will go head-to-head with it then.
Well, good. It sucked. That's great.
No,
because I was afraid.
like I said again, I think it's too early for Ashley to be wrestling. You made a point last week. Tori has improved in the ring. I don't think she's improved enough to carry somebody. I still say that Ashley should be doing the cat fight one spot thing. I don't think she's ready to wrestle full time.
No, she wasn't ready for a match, and it exposes her weaknesses every time that they do it.
It's a shame to throw her into something like that in front of all those people. It was just destined to be a disaster.
Am I the only one that didn't find this to be that bad?
I guess you are.
I guess as a worker, I can tell what spots were messed up.
Well, I mean, there was clearly some mistakes, but, I mean, you got to look at it realistically. When I'm watching TV, I think to myself, what can I realistically expect out of this?
It wasn't fluent. There were a lot of spots where you can clearly see Tori whispering in her ear, telling her what to do. It was bad.
And Tori's hardly the person I would want carrying me to a great match. I don't think she's that. She's exactly 100%
Did I say Victoria? I meant to
comfortable.
say Tori. I said Tori, right?
Tori, yes, Tori.
Tori's beautiful, and she's progressed. Like, I do think she can carry off, like, smaller matches and stuff. But when it comes to working with somebody who has no experience, it was just too early for these two to be doing something like that together.
Well, this is the byproduct of what happens when you let all your stars go that are female workers, the good quality workers, the Molly Hollies, the Trish Stratus is out on the shelf. Gail Kim's gone. Ivory, I don't even know why they got Ivory. Should have never stopped wrestling.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Unreal.
And like I said, Tori's making waves. I mean, she looks good and she's improving every week.
I hadn't thought of it, to be honest with you.
That's what I thought right
away.
away.
Makes sense, though, right?
Yeah, I could see it happening.
Kind of don't like that, though. That's kind of pushing the boundaries of possibly good taste right there.
But don't they always push the line, push the envelope there?
They kind of do. I don't know.
They're always doing something crazy. I mean, when I saw him come down and I saw who was in the ring, and I said to myself, I think they're going to make this something racial.
What people don't understand is that the WWE is very clever. We look back to various angles. Obviously, Katie Vick comes to mind. Everyone hated it at the time and thought this was ridiculous. But you know what makes that angle good? Hey, it's like 3 years later, and everyone still talks about it. So that obviously left an indelible mark on people's mind that still provides people fuel to speak on to this point in time.
Well, we talked about Gene Simmons of KISS a couple weeks ago, and the bottom line is he always says that there is no such thing as bad publicity.
I can't agree with that.
As long as they're talking about you, man.
Right.
I've never been a fan of that school of thought. I kind of disagree with that to some degree, because while there is, a value to any kind of publicity you get, the WWE has ended up alienating themselves from a lot of other media outlets because of some of that press they get. So while it may be good to some degree in the short term, it's hindered their viability as a mainstream, outlet in the long run.
You don't think the casual fan who just hears about this won't tune in just to see what's going on? And they maybe by a stroke of luck get hooked on the product, and then they gained another viewer that way?
There's a possibility of that, or there's also, you run the risk of possibility of people saying, I don't ever want to watch that. I mean, people have never heard of Howard Stern, right, actually listen to a show live. And there's people that never will get the opportunity to listen to him live because they have preconceived notions about what he is. So, while he has a ton of listeners, I bet there's a lot out there that are not going to ever tune into him just because of the rumors and, the things that they've heard negatively about him. So, his audience is where it is, and it's not likely to grow really anytime soon. And I think to some degree that while a little bit different, is the position that the WWE has placed himself in.
I say curiosity, I think myself, if I hear about something, I might tune in just to see what's going on, and you never know, I might be a fan from that. I'm curious to see what this person is doing nowadays, so I might look at the website, or I might go to a show, or I might, do something to see where this is all going. And I think Vince likes to stir up controversy, and I think it might bring new fans, and you never know. Some people thought wrestling was the stupidest thing on the planet I'll never forget talking to some ECW fans, and then once they saw our show, they were hooked.
Right.
Because it was different from what they saw.
I can speak from experience on that. I was watching, I was always a wrestling fan from the early 80s
You're
on.
kidding, right?
Oh, of course, I was always a wrestling fan, but I remember I went to school with people and they hated wrestling. They're like, how could you watch that crap? Then they see ECW and they come in and they're like, dude, this stuff's real, right? No, it's not. It's the same thing.
Because
It's
it was
just
different,
right?
you know. And some people, and it's a shame to say this, but America, some people are twisted, and they like to see, you know, people being berated or people making fun of other people. They might just watch it just to get their shits and giggles in. I mean, you don't know how twisted somebody's mind is. So some of this stuff might appeal to people, like, and I think Vince just, you know, just does whatever he thinks will draw more people to view his product.
I tend to agree with you on that. All I'm saying is I think there's a line.
I agree with you.
And
totally,
trust me, this is not me personally speaking, because I'll tell you what, I'm like super liberal. I don't care what really anyone does with their own lives. It's completely irrelevant to me. You know, if you want to kill yourself, that's great. If you want to, you know, marry a dude, that's great too. All of it is really irrelevant to me. But there still comes a point in time in which you don't want to give yourself any more negative publicity that would prevent you from, you know, reaching certain outlets.
Well, I think that's why they dropped the whole. Oh, you forgive me. What was that guy's name? Yes, they totally scrapped that. That was in poor taste.
Well, really? You think that was in poor taste?
I do.
Because
considering what's going on in the world, I think a lot of people would consider it in poor taste.
I think a lot of people would. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, I know the business, I know how it is, and I know why Vince was going to use it.
In theory, me not being obviously in wrestling, but in other aspects of media, I understand the theory behind it. But going back to the Muhammad Hassan thing, while I can understand, I suppose, kind of why people think that would be in poor taste, that shows that people kind of in America today don't necessarily pay full-on attention to what's placed in front of them. Because while it may have appeared Muhammad Hassan was like a terrorist, he was actually, you know, bitching, complaining about being viewed as one, and that he didn't want to be viewed that way. He wanted to be considered an equal. Which, I mean, it had been portrayed as slightly different, you know, obviously not having the people come out like henchman style, you know, would have helped the situation.
Yeah, that was, I think that's what really did it, having all the people come out with their faces covered. I think that was in relation to that character, yeah.
Yeah, crapping on America, the whole, it was just a bad time for us as Americans. I don't think, you know, the placement was a good idea. It didn't offend me personally because, like I said, I know the business. I know it's a work. I know he's just trying to rile up people.
Right.
But like you said, I can see how some fans would really say, oh, this is really in poor taste. Because in a way it was, but like I don't get offended by too much in wrestling because I know the deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know he's trying to rile us up, and that's the reason why he's doing it. He's not really out to hurt anybody in particular. It's just to get a reaction, and he got a reaction from it. So.
Let me ask you, were you offended by the Katie Vick character, though?
No, I was. The only thing I was ever offended by in all my years in wrestling was the crucifixion angle that was done in ECW. That offended me.
That was the angle that caused Kurt Angle to walk out, wasn't it?
Yes, I was there that night. I did not like that angle. I told Paul Heyman I was disgusted by that angle. It's just my religious beliefs. You know, I'm Catholic. I don't push my beliefs on anybody. But me sitting in front of that monitor watching that made me sick to my stomach. I
got to tell you, we had Raven on the show, and that's the only time I've really disagreed with Raven in our conversations, because we were talking for a good, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes, and he kept saying, you know, if you found that offensive, then you're obviously too touchy. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you didn't go to Catholic school or
right.
go to CCD every day after school or anything like that, so you didn't have to put up with that.
I was on the phone with Raven before I called in to you guys. He's one of my best friends in the world, but I'll fight tooth and nail over that, and he'll fight right back. I did not like that angle, and I'm not gonna lie, I was one of the people who told Paul, you better make him apologize.
Wow.
I'm not saying Paul listened to me, but I did voice my opinion because that's how strongly I felt about that angle. It really bothered me, and that's the only time I ever was offended by anything in wrestling.
It's such a weird dichotomy we have here in America based on the fact that what really can offend someone can just totally blow over someone else's head. Like I said, I mean, you're talking to me. I really haven't probably been offended in like 10 years.
Right.
I don't know if that's just a product of you know, the environment I grew up in. You know, my family was always really laid back. You know, whether it be the music I listen to helps to sensitize, the things I watch on TV helps to sensitize. But there just comes a point where anything like that I see, you know, it's in one ear out the other. If I choose to, you know, dislike it, I just let it lie. You know, if I choose to like it, I absorb it.
Well, you're not offended, but you're also the guy that posts porn on our forums.
Well,
which is all well and good.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
Well,
fine.
That's a situation again where does that offend me? No. Do I see that as a viable way for some people to, you know, come to the site and you know, get their jollies? Sure. Which is fine. You know, that's my goal, is to provide people whatever they could want under one roof. If that is encompassing in that, then so be it.
Right.
You know, that's irrelevant to me.
It was just, for me, okay, my personal belief, but there was also kids in the audience. To me, it was over the top. You know, religion is a touchy subject. I just thought it was disrespectful to anybody who believes in Jesus Christ, to sort of mock it in a way. I just hated that angle through and through. You know, I'm almost speechless about this. I just hated it, and just watching it, I lost my breath. I was just like, what is going on? You know, because like we didn't know in the back what was happening. Like I think like the little circle knew, because you don't really get involved in anybody else's matches. You know, you do what you're going to do, and then we all sit in the front of the monitor and watch each other. But I just remember I just watched that, and I was just flabbergasted. It blew me away, and to the point where I was sick to my stomach. I just hated it. And that's the only time in wrestling that I've been offended. But, I mean, you know, like, you know, your religion might be different than mine, and I don't knock you, and I don't push my beliefs on anybody. But to do something like that, religion's a touchy subject. I just don't think religion has its place in wrestling.
Indeed. But unfortunately, we got to jump off this topic and move back onto Raw, as we've gone off topic for a good 5-6 minutes. Hey,
I'm the worst.
No,
Just fire me now.
No, because we all got into it. That's how it goes. It happens.
Okay.
But we want to talk about Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch, as well as Rosie and the Hurricane.
Cade?
Lance Cade.
Oh, good. Who won again?
I thought his name was Garrison.
Hey, I'm human. I claim not to be, so I guess
you got to eat Taco Bell now, dude.
No, I'm gonna buy you some Taco Bell.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Those of us that are health conscious don't
Just give me the
eat
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, man. That's no good. That stuff. Wow, hey now.
Just buy me some Subway or something.
So we saw the debut, nonetheless, of Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. This was probably the only match that really I did not enjoy on the card, and maybe it was because I had higher expectations, wanting to see, you know, the first really cohesive tag team debut on Raw in a while. But it seemed like Trevor Murdoch, man, was significantly missing a beat somewhere along the way there. And I don't know if it was something, you know, maybe he was just having a bad night. I don't know. Either way, it just seemed like he completely out of rhythm, and that was probably the worst time for him to face that problem.
You knew him as one of the Dubs, didn't you? Francine?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what was his name.
I think he was Stand Up.
Stand Up, Murrayed Up, Fluffed Up, Hoed Up, Beat Up. There's a million of them. Yeah, I got along with all of them. He's a really talented worker. You know, everybody has an off night. Like we said, to be thrown on Raw, and maybe his nerves were bad. Who knows? But, you know,
he's in front of a bigger audience than he's ever been before. I mean, if not even in just the arena, then definitely in front of the television audience. There's never been a time that I've known him to be in front of something that's going to be watched by 4 million people.
Well, weren't they there before as the Dubs?
I don't think they ever made it to WWE. I know they made it to TNA.
Didn't. I thought they had a developmental.
Did they?
And I thought they might have did some stuff on Raw. Maybe I'm wrong.
You might be right. I don't recall it, though. So
okay.
If I don't remember it, it might not have happened.
Okay.
Because I'm the biggest dork in the world, but who knows?
Okay.
Anyway, and for the finale of Raw, we saw the Master Lock Challenge. This was obviously Chris Masters with the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And, again, this was probably my second least favorite segment of the evening.
Chuck D said, while we were watching this, he looked at me and said, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life."
Oh, because how long can you possibly be put in a hold before something happens? I mean, I understand, like, the whole suspense thing and all that good stuff, but, I mean, come on. I mean, either pass out or don't. Break it or don't. I mean, there just comes a point in time where it's like this is becoming significantly unrealistic at that point.
It's endurance.
Well, hey, I know all about endurance. Hey, now, no. But still, I mean, you just got to go somewhere with it or don't. And that, to me, was just like, you know, I'm sitting there watching the overrun thinking to myself, okay, we're 7 minutes in the overrun. Something has to happen soon. And then we're like 9 minutes into it. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? 2 minutes in a full Nelson should be enough. And
well, now, who did he have in a full Nelson?
Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Do you really think he's going to tap that soon? He's Shawn Michaels.
My point exactly, even. Yes, I understand that it's Shawn Michaels, but it's Shawn Michaels, while, you know, a pretty big dude, not that big. You put Batista in a hold like that, I'll believe maybe he can go 5-6 minutes. You put a guy like Shawn Michaels, yeah.
Shawn Michaels, man.
He's a superstar, though, Chuck.
That's right.
He's a
on
main
top.
event.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, I agree with you, but that's the reason why it lasted so long.
He's a superstar. He's not going to put
somebody over.
He's
got to look strong, you know?
Everybody on that level does not want to go down to the low level below them, and if they lose too substantially, if they just get dominated, that's not going to look good.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, does it really matter even if he just taps out in 30 seconds? Because you know damn well, in 2-3 weeks, when Unforgiven rolls around, he's going to pick up a return victory over Chris Masters anyway. I cannot feasibly see a situation in which Chris Masters cleanly goes over Shawn Michaels. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think it's going to happen.
What the hell? What the hell's the difference if he taps or not? I mean, he's going to save face in 3 weeks.
If he tapped, it would make him look weak if he tapped.
But you got to look at it. They've spent so much time and effort pushing this kid, and he's destroyed so many people. How bad does it really make him look? Me personally, I don't think it makes him look that bad.
Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it making him look that bad. I mean, I definitely understand.
Yeah, but who was he beaten at that level besides Ric Flair, who was also killed before the match, though? So, I mean, who has he really beaten at that level? We talked about Val Venus. We're talking about people out of the audience. He never beat anybody at that level like Shawn Michaels. So it might make him look bad.
Hey, let's shake things up, make an impact. Let him beat Shawn Michaels. So what? It's all good.
Well, you tell Sean that and see what happens.
Hey. I like politicking, I'll tell you what.
Right.
No,
I agree. It was too long, but I know why they did it the way they did.
Oh, so do I.
Like I said, I understand the psychology.
I thought it was actually fairly compelling. I was waiting for something to happen, and you were watching it, and you were waiting for something to happen, too.
You could take a bathroom break. You could go make a sandwich. You're not going to miss anything.
But
you could have gone to the store, went grocery shopping, came back, whatever.
You still didn't turn it off, though, did you?
No, because I wanted to watch Ultimate Fighter.
Oh.
Oh, wow, okay.
Hey, no. Well, no, I ultimately wanted to see what happened, but, I mean, there's two ways to get to an endpoint. There's, the best way and just a way. And in my opinion, that was not the best way. That was just a way that they decided to take.
The quickest way to a straight line or something like that, I don't know. Between point A and point B is a straight line. Is that what the old algebraic phrase is?
Oh, my God, please don't talk algebra. You'll give me a migraine.
Don't tell me about that. 2 years out of college, I failed out all the time.
That was the worst. Oh, it was the worst.
Anyway, Francine, we thank you for coming on the show. Can we actually get your thought on one more thing before we go to break that I personally have a question for you on?
Yes.
We've seen a lot of females getting signed by TNA recently. Jackie Gate just heading over there. Gail Kim's headed over there. Sounds like Molly Holly's going to go over there. Do you think TNA is really going to make a strong push to go ahead and make a credible women's division? And if so, what do you think their chances of success are?
I think they will do the women's division. It's just a matter of people tuning in and watching their product. Where I live now, I don't get Impact. So I haven't watched TNA. I'll be honest with you. I
don't think anybody does.
I have not watched TNA since I was on it, and that was in 2002.
Any chance you'd ever go back there, Francine?
I would love to go back. It's just a matter of them getting in touch with me, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. But I mean, yeah, I would go back there in a heartbeat because it was a great locker room. There was great people there.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it there. I think they have a good product from, the reports I read and stuff. I think they have a really good product. They have good workers there. It's just a matter of us tuning in and watching them. Now that they're on Spike TV, I'll definitely watch it.
But,
now, because I get Spike TV, but I never got Impact, and I'm not one to buy pay-per-views. Like, I'll watch them if somebody else is watching, or somebody gives me a tape or whatever. but I'm not one to purchase them. But I'll definitely watch them on Spike.
And why should you purchase pay-per-views, Francine? Because you're always on them. You don't need to, right?
Well, I'm on certain pay-per-views.
Well, you know, I'm just playing with you. But I just don't know. Is that it's me personally thinking to myself about the things that TNA needs to try and accomplish here in their first few weeks. I don't know as setting up a women's division should necessarily be at the top of their list.
You know what? I think it'll help them. I also think part of TNA's problem is that they're not traveling.
Right.
And I think they need to start doing some house shows and going into different venues in different cities and attracting more fans. They're at the same place every other week.
Right.
And it's like you get the same crowd, the same people. If you want to expand your fan base, let's go into these different cities and get these people excited about us coming to be here. And they're not doing that, and they're limiting themselves. They need to.
I look at them and I think to myself, okay, Raven is the champion. I don't necessarily see it at this point in time, maybe 3-4 years ago, right on, right? Maybe even 2 years ago so much. The way they're going and the way Raven's character is, I don't know is that when you make your national debut on television, that's the kind of person you want as a figurehead. I always think to myself, they have them, and this really isn't a knock against Raven because God knows, the dude's done some great things in his career. But his character is one that you need a little time with to kind of digest, understand what's happening. The psychological aspect that goes along with it. To people first turning into that show for the first time, I don't know if they're going to be able to grasp that. That's just my personal opinion. You have someone on there like Amani Brown who has some mainstream appeal, obviously has a tremendous look. These are situations I'd be far more concerned with than spending time focusing on bringing in a Jackie Gata or a Gail Kim or Molly Holly. While they can add something to the product, say maybe 4 or 5 months down the road after they've been on TV, for 6-7 shows.
Well, look at it this way. They're going to be on Spike TV. They have no women on their roster.
Right. This is true.
Okay, so if you put a Jackie Gata or Gail Kim, who has notoriety from WWE, has a fan base, people haven't seen them in a while, yeah, if I'm a women's wrestling fan, I'm going to tune in to see their match.
Sure. I don't understand your point here, Chuck. I disagree with you. I think they need to get all the aspects of the machine rolling.
They need as much talent as they can get for that premiere.
I guess maybe what I have a problem with is I feel like they have, too many hooks in the water, or whatever the analogy is I'm trying to say here, is that I feel like there's other issues at hand they need to get in order versus spending their time trying to set up a women's division, I guess.
Well, they're not going to base the whole show about the
Oh, no, I definitely
division.
understand that. I guess it's just one of those things that I happen to just be kind of pondering to myself with everyone saying, oh, this is such a great thing. I try to look into it a little bit more in depth and think to myself, what on their checklist is at the top of importance? And I really haven't heard TNA making any big news except for these signing of these few women, which I guess is maybe what caused me to say this.
Everybody knows.
So are you saying the bigger news would be them signing different men?
Well, not necessarily different men. I think if they could lend themselves to a situation where there was a significant change toward the top of the roster. Amani Brown coming up is obviously the name that comes to mind. I think there's things that need to be shaken up toward the top end of the male side of the card, yes, is what I'm saying.
I think what they need to do is they're going to be taking over for Velocity. So people that could be expecting to see Velocity could be seeing TNA. And they keep pushing TNA on their commercials every time that Raw's on. So when people tune in, they're going to want to see, well, who do they have working for them? And they're going to want to see people that they recognize. They're going to want to see maybe Sting. Even though he's not really active right now, if they see Sting in the ring, they're going to be happy because they haven't seen him since WCW, really. So they'll be happy to see that. They're going to also want to see, I think they said Kevin Nash is coming back for that show. People will know who Kevin Nash is.
I guess that's more along the lines of what I'm saying. There's bigger... Man, bring in a Scott Steiner. You want to make an impact?
So you're saying there are bigger fish out there than Jackie Gata and Gail Kim?
Definitely.
Okay, but you need women on your show.
Yes, definitely. Oh, I'm definitely not understanding the importance of that.
You need women on your show, whether it be a women's division or manager spots. You need women on your show.
I'm a huge
fan. Jackie Gata and Gail Kim are two recognizable names that were on the WWE roster that are now part of the TNA line.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I've always said there's definitely a spot for women in wrestling.
Absolutely.
Bar none. They can definitely draw.
Straight there is.
They definitely have a significant amount of value. But in this particular situation, I mean, we're weeks away right, from TNA debuting. And it just seems like this is the biggest story they have to break, to me.
Because, okay, number one, we don't know what other stuff is on, on their list. Number two, wouldn't it be nice to tune in that night and to see, oh my God, there's Scott Hall. Nobody knew Scott Hall was going to be there.
That'd be.
And I'm not saying, please don't quote me on that, because I'm not saying Scott Hall's going to be there. But I'm just saying, maybe they have some surprises up their sleeve that we don't know about. That'll be a nice surprise for us to tune in.
Absolutely. And
You
they're not
don't know
going to
what
tell you everything. We're talking about poker next week. You're not going to show your hand before the big event, you know?
Oh, I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying it seems like, I kind of look at this, I suppose, as like a build-up, right? And it seems like the blocks they're using to build things up, I don't know, are just not that impressive to me. Or even, not even so much the women. Let's say, oh, well, we have Justin Liger, right, coming in. International
Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah, great. You know what that does for me? I can't even say the dude's name.
Justin Liger, great.
And that's the story that you really want to leak out, is being like, oh, huge international star. You know what I mean? There's so many big international stars that they could legitimately get. And this is the best they can do for me?
This is the way I'm looking at it. As a wrestling fan, there's a new promotion, not so much new, but new to my television set that's going to be coming on Spike TV, which I get. I'm going to check it out.
Sure.
If I like it the first time, I'm going to watch it again. If I don't like it, I'm not going to watch it anymore.
And that's,
they're running their ads. They have some recognizable names on the card. Let me give it a shot, see what's going on.
I agree with you. I don't understand Chuck's point. I really don't. I really wish you could explain this better, but I'm not going to waste any more time on it.
Am I not really explaining it that well to you guys?
No, I don't get your point.
I don't think they have oodles of money, too, to be throwing around. I'm not sure they signed these girls to multi-million-dollar contracts.
Oh, I would probably tend to think not.
No, I doubt it. I'm just saying that they're two recognizable names. They're not the biggest stars in the world, but they have notoriety. They have WWE value. Let's put their names out there. Hey, we got these girls. We're trying to make a women's division. WWE hasn't had a women's division in a long time.
This is true.
And so maybe for all those women wrestling fans, hey, TNA's going to do one. I'm not saying it's going to be their main draw, but it is going to be a draw, and maybe that'll get some people to go over and watch their product.
Hey, fair point. Fair point, Francine.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying what I think.
I'll say it. Chuck, you're wrong.
I've been wrong before. I'll probably be wrong again, man. That's just the way that it is.
Just opinions. Everybody's got them, and you're allowed to voice them.
That's right. Francine, we're going to let you get off the phone. We've kept you entirely too long here this evening.
I'm sorry. I've been dragging.
No, we're dragging. We're using you as a crutch right now, Francine.
No problem. I hope I didn't bore anybody out there.
No, you did phenomenal. Once again, we'd like to remind you to check out ForeverFrancine.com and Missy Hyde and FrancineTV.com. Francine, we'll definitely talk to you next Wednesday here on the Wrestling Epicenter. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Hey, enjoy your pay-per-view tapings these upcoming weekend.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So there she is, the Queen of Extreme, Francine. Man, I feel bad. We keep her on so long.
Yeah, we do, but we have fun with her. She's a lot of fun to have on the air, I tell you that much. Got to tell you, though, Chuck, you were a little bit off on that TNA thing.
I just doesn't... I
don't know what you're trying to say.
I mean, I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say.
I don't get it.
Holla at your boy. I don't know, man. I'm just saying it's like...
It sounds to me like you're just trying to be negative.
I'm not... Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm never negative on this show, my man.
Yeah, you've been pretty
I'll
positive.
tell you what.
I'll give you that.
We're going to take a quick break.
I have to point out the times that you've been negative.
That's right. This is just something to me that doesn't seem to jive well. I don't know. Feel free to disagree. That's what it is. As Francine said, it's just opinions, baby. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to maybe talk about this a little bit more. But we're actually going to go right to our Kane interview right from this break. And then we're going to go on to some SmackDown. So make sure you keep it locked right here to the Wrestling Epicenter here on the Blaze 1260 AM.
Woo! Introducing the Blaze AM.
Worker of the Week.
Angle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. You are listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Joining us now through Hellfire and Brimstone, it's the Big Red Machine from the WWE, Kane. Kane, it's a pleasure to have you on the line, buddy.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Hey, we're pleased to have you. We hear you have a book coming out, or that it's just been released, I should say. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It's an unauthorized, I suppose, rehashing of Kane's career, if you will. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually, the concept. It's not only of Kane's career, but it's also about early history of Kane, from his childhood to his time in the WWE. So it's a pretty interesting concept.
It's a little bit different than what we would expect from a WWE book, because a lot of them seem to be more, shall I say, realistic. So this one's more like character-based. So do you think that something like this could perhaps leak its way onto WWE programming?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I think this is more of an extension of WWE programming than anything. It gives a different side of the characters than you're going to see on TV.
Well, let me take you back to the beginning of your career, as a matter of fact, in reality, as opposed to just the generic, the book, or as I should say. We actually had the opportunity to, just 2 weeks ago, speak to your former manager, Paul Bearer. And he spoke about how when he first saw you in Smoky Mountain, when they went down there scouting, they were blown away by you. Do you remember when they first came down, he and the Undertaker, and saw you?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Jim Ross was, when I was working for Smoky Mountain, Jim Ross was our color commentator. And, he helped set some things up for me with the WWE, and everything turned out good from there.
It certainly did. You've had a lot of gimmicks, my personal favorite being Isaac Yankem. But what do you think led to the success of the Kane gimmick?
I think the mystery of the character initially, the fact that it's behind the mask, so you couldn't tell what Kane was thinking and what his motivation was for a lot of things. And whereas with the other superstars, you pretty much know why they're doing what they're doing because you can see it. But with Kane, you're always left with that. He never told you why he did what he did. He just did it. So there could be a multitude of motivations behind it. That it almost allowed the audience to be interactive just in that respect, because you could sort of decide why he was doing what he was doing.
Definitely. Were you a fan of the idea of the unmasking angle with Kane? Did you feel like it was time, or would you have rather seen him keep that mask on?
No, I felt like it was time. We've gone. I felt like we've gone as far as we could. With the character under the mask, and I actually felt after a while that the mask was limiting my ability, to do some things. For years I'd had to, when I was talking about portraying emotion, I'd have to do it, solely with my body, and I never could do it with my face like the other superstars were able to. So that added another dimension to the character. There were a lot of people that weren't fans of it, but the people that were the ones that counted. So.
Well, just 2 nights ago, we mentioned that we were going to have you on the program, and the phone started ringing off the hook. They all wanted us to ask this question, and it might be the stupidest question I've ever heard, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. Did you actually have long hair under the mask, or was that always part of the mask?
No, I had long hair for a while.
I thought that was a stupid question, but I guess I thought I would, it was a little bit funny, a little bit different, so I gave that a shot.
That was the coup, man. No one knew anything about that, actually. Even like nobody. So that really was one of the best kept secrets in our industry.
Indeed, it was. Just to move along for time's sake, you've worked a few matches with some big name people over your career. I think of guys like, I believe you worked with Bret Hart when you were Isaac Yankem. You recently worked with Shane McMahon. You've had matches with Kurt Angle. Who was your favorite to work with over your career?
There's a couple. Undertaker was always one of my favorites, you know, just because I have a lot of respect for him, you know, and everything that he's done and all things that he's done to help me, you know. Chris Benoit's been one of my favorites too, you know, just because he's just a great guy to work with. And of course, you know, guys like Austin and The Rock, you know, because pretty much no matter what you did out there with those guys, you're going to get a reaction from the people.
Oh, definitely.
No, those guys are just so over that you just look at them wrong and the crowd is going to react badly to you.
Right. So it always made it easier on you too, you know.
Well, just recently you got arrested on camera for tombstoning Lita. We haven't seen you on WWE programming since. When might we see the return of the Big Red Machine?
It could be any time soon. It could be a while off. You know, you just have to watch and see.
Hey, fair question. We got just a few more questions with you, and then we're going to let you get back to doing your signing. One of the questions that I had for you was, how do you feel as you were able to get such longevity within the business? We talked to a lot of people who, you know, have had a good couple, 2-3 year strong runs. You've been going strong now for many years, through many different, you know, cycles of both, you know, the WWE business, the television business. How do you personally feel that you've remained, you know, on top for so long?
Well, I've been fortunate because I've been relatively injury-free. You know, I've only had a couple of major injuries, and you know, that's been by good fortune. You know, I keep myself in very good shape, of course, but you know, a lot of it's been good fortune. Also, you know, I'm a professional. You know, I do what it takes to get done, and you know, people I work with know that. So, you know, they can depend on me to come through. You know, because that's what I do, and that's what I've always done. So I think those two things are the most important things in my career.
Another question I have for you is, throughout your career, you've had a lot of, you know, spots, I'd say, that were a little over the top. We've seen you throw Shane McMahon through a burning dumpster. We've seen Paul Bearer bury in cement. We've seen you set Jim Ross on fire. Out of all those big-time spots that had a lot of kind of production and planning behind them, what one sticks out in your mind as your all-time favorite?
My all-time favorite, I think it's the one where I set the guy on fire, his whole body, and that was in Tucson, Arizona, actually, pretty close to you guys.
Oh, yeah, not too far away.
Yeah.
Is that the one where you shot the lightning bolt from your finger?
Yeah, the one where I was shooting lightning bolts. And
that was pretty funny. I was watching that at home, and I remember I started laughing, like, how'd they do that?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. You know, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I'd have to say that was it. Ironically enough, the flying through the dumpster with Shane McMahon, I believe that was also in Tucson. So, Tucson.
A lot of history with a lot of history with Kane here in Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, and then you know, along a different line, but you know, I took care of the gorilla there in Phoenix one time.
Yeah, I recall that the Phoenix Suns gorilla, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, you did actually get a chance.
And that was fun. Let me tell you.
Well, this is probably a question you get asked all the time, but what was it like getting to tombstone Pete Rose in Boston when he's ripping on those fans? That's got to be one of the highlights of your career and life. I mean, that's got to be fun.
Yeah, that was huge, man. That was huge. Only to be capped off by getting to induct him into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That had to be kind of having it come full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kane, we appreciate your time. Why don't you once again tell us a little bit about the book?
Journey into Darkness.
Right, Journey into Darkness, the unauthorized story of Kane.
Well, like I said before, you know, this delves into the side of Kane that you don't see on TV, and you know, we touched a little upon before about the motivations behind what Kane does, and this book probably answers a lot of those questions.
Yeah, it's kind of like the prequel to the Kane character, then, essentially,
yeah.
correct?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, just before we let you off the phone, and I know that you've read the book, you're part of the book, and let me just ask you this, does any point in the book does the name Katie Vick show up?
Yeah, it shows up a couple times.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Does that name give you a headache or nightmares or anything like that?
Nah, I sleep well at night.
All right. You just give everybody else nightmares, right?
Exactly.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to reading the book. We're going to hit the bookstores soon. We hope everybody else out there does the same. Thank you so much for your time, and everybody, stay tuned for more for the rest of the show.
This is Brett the Hitman Hart, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Dictionary, here on the Wrestling Epicenter. This week's term is shoot. The real thing, i.e. a match where one participant is really attempting to hurt another. The opposite of a work or fake.
Ooh, ah.
This has been another edition of the Wrestling Dictionary here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, this is Batista, World Heavyweight Champion, and you're listening to Blaze 1260 AM.
And we are back here on the Wrestling Epicenter on the Blaze 1260 AM. You just heard the debut of our brand new segment, the Wrestling Dictionary. Kind of humorous, man. What'd you think, James Walsh?
Pretty funny there, Jack D. Pretty funny there. I gotta say this. I love that theme song.
What, that crappy graduation thing that we did there?
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. That's great stuff.
Hey, we got a caller that wants to talk a little bit more TNA with me. Apparently, I'm still wrong. I don't know exactly why or what about. Brian, you're on the phone with us here on the Wrestling Episode.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Go for it, dude. You tear into your boy Chuck.
I didn't want to tear in that much. I was just kidding, man.
Oh, well, you can if you like.
Okay, what were you...
I was saying how I think it's ridiculous that TNA is going to launch a brand new program on Spike TV, and the best they can give me is Justin Thunder Liger and a couple of...
Jushin! No. I'm going to have to stop you right there. Jushin Thunder Liger is one of the best wrestlers to ever lace up his boots. When people watch him, they go, wow.
Let me say this. Let me just say this.
What?
Dude, I host a wrestling talk show. I don't know who the hell he is.
Well, let me say this, and this is going to be a little trivia between Brian and I to Mr. Chuck D. Jushin Thunder Liger was actually in the first match of a very popular wrestling television show on Monday nights.
Raw?
No.
Nope.
WCW?
He was on WCW Monday Nitro in the first match ever on the program against Flying Brian Pillman.
That's correct.
Oh, Brian Pillman's good.
Yes, and they had a fantastic match.
This Juice, how do you call it? What do you
Jushin.
Jushin.
He sounds like Formula 44, Grecian Formula 44. That stuff people used to regrow hair.
He's Japanese.
I know, dude. It's like Ultimo Dragon or something. You know?
He's good. I know who he is. This Jushin. Hey, this
you'll
is
be able to watch. Hey, man, you'll get to watch him when he comes on to Spike TV.
All I've ever tried to say is this whole show. I never say anything that's controversial. I don't know what got into me tonight. I just expect a little bit more hype from TNA.
Who knows?
Gail
Maybe
Kim,
you will.
Jackie Gata, and this
Hey,
Justin.
whoa! I'm gonna have to stop you right here now. Who's to say they do not have Sting?
I don't know, but I don't know about it right now, so how can I comment?
You're going to have to watch, I'll agree that, Raven is not the best champion to have. I think they should have Monty Brown or Sting going into the Spike TV debut.
Yes.
But I still think he's better than Jeff Jarrett. I think Jeff Jarrett is the absolute worst guy that you have the title on going into TNA.
See, now
going into Spike TV.
That's kind of harsh to say that Jeff Jarrett would be the worst choice. And Raven's not a bad champion. I don't want to feel like I'm taking anything away from Raven.
You're always talking about the mainstream WWE fans.
Right.
When was the last time you saw Raven on WWE?
Well, again, well, you heard me say it, dude. I said it on the air. I talked about it to Francine. All I'm saying is that he is a character that could be champion. I believe that firmly. I just think that he's a guy that needs more time to connect with the fans.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with time to connect to the fans. I think it has more to do with he was a jobber on Heat in WWE.
That's a fair point, and that's something that TNA has not really noticed. And going into Unbreakable this Sunday, it's Raven against Rhino.
Another WWE jobber.
Exactly, and that's something they really do have to keep a note on, and what the casual fan or the WWE fans will think of these guys after what they've seen them doing recently.
I'd put the title right on Sabu and say forget it. And
I would put the title on. I would have left the title on AJ. I wouldn't have took it.
Yeah, you got all these guys that can do the sickest things and get the sickest responses from people.
And
you got
AJ's not
Monty
going
Brown,
anywhere.
you got AJ, you got Sabu. I mean, maybe Sabu for the short term would even be fine. That's just my opinion, but I'm a Sabu mark, so I don't know
Well,
what
they
to say
didn't.
about
Well,
that.
see, the big thing is Sabu wasn't completely raped of his dignity in WWE.
Right.
Well, and that's why Sting is such a good acquisition for TNA to make.
I'm just saying.
Because Sting, while still known, and people know who Sting is, regardless of what you think, Sting, while still known, never went to the WWE and was devalued like, say, Scott Steiner.
Well, let me just say this.
Sting is the
Hold on.
best to have. Okay, go on.
I look to myself, right, and I think, okay, so we got TNA debuting 3 weeks, right?
Right.
And they have their Unbreakable pay-per-view coming up.
Right.
So here's some of the names that I see on this rundown. We have, I'm just looking here. Samoa Joe. Yeah, that's going to draw ratings. Thank you. Try again.
Have you ever seen Samoa Joe wrestle?
Dude, I don't care. He's not going to draw.
Dude,
Bobby Roode?
Go to WrestlingEpicenter.com into the forums.
Thanks, dude. I own the site.
Wrestling Multimedia and check
We
out
own the
AJ
site.
Styles versus Samoa Joe. It is one of the best matches ever.
Team Canada's Bobby Roode. Cha-ching. Yeah, thank you. Come again.
They haven't been on TV.
Raven and Rhino. Drawing big bucks here. This is like no whammy, no whammy. Got the whammy.
Stop.
Thank you. Try again. This is just ridiculous. I mean, what's this going to do for you? The biggest name they have on this card, or the biggest people they have aren't even on this card. No Jeff Jarrett. No Monty Brown. AJ Styles is there in a lower card match. He's going to be going against...
He's going for the X Division title. Their titles are actually credible.
Incredible.
Unlike WWE.
Their title,
Dude,
the X Division title...
I don't get offended by religion. I don't get offended by... There's not very much that's going to offend me. But when you kiss WWE's ass every damn week, and then you come on and start, saying that TNA is crap, you're crazy.
I'm not saying they're crap. I'm saying this. Samoa Joe and his Ring of Honor friends are not going to make TNA successful. Period.
They will when WWE fans see him wrestle, because they're going, oh, Velocity's not on.
Oh,
We get
look
to
at this
see a
guy.
5-star match
Look at
that
this
we'll
guy.
watch again.
I'm bigger than him myself. Woo.
It doesn't matter. They're all larger on TV. I agree with you. Samoa Joe is not as big as The Rock or Brock Lesnar or somebody.
I'm talking
It doesn't
physical
matter, 'cause
size.
He's never going to be standing face to face with one of those guys.
Samoa Joe is way bigger than you. Samoa Joe's a big boy.
Yeah, dude, you put him in the ring with Abyss or a Monty Brown, he looks like a nobody. Period.
I really disagree. He's like, what, 6'5"?
No, he's like 6'1".
Is he that small? I
Yeah.
thought he was taller than that.
I gotta disagree with you here.
But it doesn't matter.
Rooney!
Hey, it's not how. I mean, it's.
No, I'm not saying. Hey, this is the same guy that wants Christian to be the world heavyweight champ, right? Obviously, I have no problem with smaller people. I love Bret Hart just like every other wrestling fan across the world, right? Right.
Yeah, but Bret Hart,
And I do like Shawn Michaels. I have no.
I hate Shawn Michaels.
I'm just saying. Bottom line is this: you don't group me in with those people that want to say, "Hey, you just want the big guys to be champion." No, I don't. The bottom line is this, though: you got to be realistic, dude. And I'm not taking anything away from TNA. God help me, I want them to succeed just as much as anyone else who wants a viable alternative in the wrestling business. There's a lot of good guys out there, like a Sabu, like a Scott Steiner.
How about the guy
like
we
a
had
Sting.
on last week?
All those guys need to have a place to work and excel, which they all can. But I'm simply saying
How
this.
is Bret Hart?
I'm not.
Bret Hart
It's
is-
not about the size. I'm saying you cannot put Samoa Joe next to a guy like Monty Brown and
They
be
put
like,
Bret Hart next to the Undertaker, and Bret Hart still won.
Bret Hart could wrestle circles around Samoa Joe.
No, he can't.
What?
No way, dude.
Walsh,
I'm
you
not
gotta
saying
help
that
me
Bret
here.
Hart is- okay.
Come on, dude, Walsh.
Samoa Joe can hold his own against a Bret Hart or a Kurt Angle or a Chris Benoit. Samoa Joe is that good. You watch one of his
I don't
matches
agree with
before you
that.
start,
I
Hey, then
don't-
you don't agree with that. Speak up.
I really don't agree with that about Samoa Joe. I've never been impressed with Samoa Joe, I gotta be honest. I think he's a good worker for his size. I just don't really get excited to see him.
I'm not saying he's a bad worker either. I'm just saying this is not the guy that you want to say, look at our huge superstars, brand new Spike
But he's
TV,
not
it's
in the main
Samoa
event.
Joe.
He's not in the main event.
He shouldn't even be on TV.
Why not?
What? Because there's 1,000 other
I'll
people
tell you
that will
what,
draw
Coach.
more money than him.
I'll tell you what, Coach Chuck D.
Who are you to say that he can't be on TV?
I'm not saying he can't be. I'm saying there's a million other people
He
that...
shouldn't be on TV.
Because there's people that would draw more money than him. You put Scott Steiner on TV, it's going to be far better than Samoa Joe. A million more people are going to tune in. Period.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
I'll tell you what, if I was running my own company, I'd put Samoa Joe, Hacksaw Jim Dugan, and Sylvan Greener in the ring together.
Now, why are you trying to tell inside jokes that no one gets?
I don't know, I just thought it was funny. Going back to the point, though, I don't think Samoa Joe is the guy that should be putting there as a poster child. I think he's a Ring of Honor lackey. I'd like to see him go back there.
No. I'm not saying that Samoa Joe should be, the poster boy
That's so
of
funny.
TNA. I'm saying he's a damn good wrestler, and people are going to watch him wrestle.
Hey, let me tell you this. Now, in all seriousness, dude, we're kind of half playing, half being serious. Samoa Joe is talented. There's definitely a place for him in TNA.
Right.
All I'm saying is, and all I've been saying through this whole show, is that with a major TV deal finally in the works, let's have some big-name people. Let's get some news going. Gail Kim is not going to do it. Okay? That's all that I'm saying.
I agree
Samoa
with you.
Joe,
I agree with
not
you.
going to do it. I'm sorry.
I
Bobby
agree.
Roode, no. There's Scott Halls, Kevin
But who's
Nash's,
to say
Goldberg,
that-
Steiners.
Who's to say that Steiner isn't going to show up Monday?
I don't know.
Who's to say 2 days from now it's going to be a big news post right there, Scott Steiner with TNA?
Buddy.
Or Steve?
Oh, he hung up on us.
No, I didn't.
Oh, all right.
Oh.
No, I'm not saying that they're not going to show up, but as of right now, we're 3 weeks out. I think they could have done a little bit better job of hyping this up. That's all I've ever been trying to say here.
I agree.
That's possible, but let's talk about the first edition of Nitro. Let's go back to that. Nobody knew that Lex Luger was jumping from the WWF to WCW. Nobody knew it. It was the best kept secret in wrestling. Who look at the roster right now.
TNA does not have Ted Turner's bank account to sit there and play around and wait for people to find them. They need to make a so-called quote-unquote impact immediately within the first 20 minutes of that show.
Yes.
That's going to decide the rest of that
That's not
company's
gonna
career.
work. That's not going to work. I think their ratings are going to build slowly, week by week. They're not going to just start off with a 5.
Pish posh.
Pish posh?
They need to hit
Are we
it.
naming Spice Girls here?
No, they just need to hit it strong, man. There's so much stuff on cable TV right now that is valuable. And I'm not saying TNA's not valuable. I'll watch. I'm definitely going to watch. I'm going to be there. But they better sure as hell come with what they got to the table in the beginning, or it's going to be downhill for them. That's all I'm saying.
So you're expecting them to bring pay-per-view quality shows to their television show every single week.
They should.
Hey, listen to this. WWE goes to USA Network, and Night of Legends, hello, former WWE champions galore, your man Hulk Hogan, they're delivering more than pay-per-view quality on the first night of USA. You think TNA could pull out a few stops here? God
The Rock,
damn it.
Stone Cold Hogan. Yeah, that's a hell of a show right there. Just with having those names on WWE, on USA. But does TNA have the money to bring in big names? I'd like to see them bring in a
If
Sting.
they're going to spend the money, now is the time to do it. I'm getting told we're out of time, guys, man. I appreciate y'all. Maybe James and I will take this on the internet, because we still got to do SmackDown Rundown. We still have so much to do we just couldn't get through tonight.
And we only have one interview this week.
I know. We'd like to thank Francine for taking the time to call in. Check her out at foreverfrancine.com. Don't forget to check us out over at WrestlingEpicenter.com. Brian, we appreciate you calling in, buddy. We will talk to you next week.
Hanging up on me.
Hey, dude, it's all gravy, brother. We'll see you. We'll see you next week.
All right, later.
So that is going to be our show, James Walsh. It was a good time, man. We'll see you back here next Wednesday, 8:30 on the Blaze, 1260 AM. Free boy, James Walsh. It's your boy, Chuck D, saying peace in the crease, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Wrestling Epicenter back next Wednesday.